All right, what's up everyone? We're gonna do another giveaway on this sucker. It's freaking crazy. I'm having second thoughts here about doing this thing, but I'm in it too deep. We have to do the giveaway. So the giveaway, as of right now, when you're watching this video, go to obsessedgarage.com. Giveaways, that's what you have to call them legally, but it's really me selling stuff to hopefully pay for the fact that I over-modified the car and I can't sell it. And so I'm hoping to make a few bucks on the deal and then create some videos and create some engagement and then give the car to somebody and change their life. So that's the real. So this is a 2020 M2CS, the CS version. I'm gonna make a separate video on, and there's plenty of videos out there, but my take on the difference between like a base, comp, and CS. But this is the S55 3.0, 3 liter inline 6. They take the S55 out of the, which they did in the comp, out of the F80 and F82, M3, M4, and put it in here, which you all know my dislike for this engine, but it does pull like a darn freight train, and I haven't even tuned the darn thing yet. But today I wanted to do just a walk around, just a brief introduction to remind you of the giveaway, ask for your help. I need all the help I can get. I think I'm about 140,000 bucks into this thing. Let's kind of keep a mental tally as we go through the various modifications. And so what I'm hoping to do is sell enough stuff via the specific, you have to go to the specific section of the OG website. Again, it doesn't do me any good to just give away a $140,000 car out of my normal sales. I need to sell other stuff, additional things. And so if you go click the banner image, click the link in the description or the bullet point or the, the tag in this video, and go to the site. Every $5 you spend, you get an entry. You'll probably, depending on how much you spend, you'll probably have a 1 in less than 1,000 chance to win, because we don't get tons and tons of people subscribing to this stuff. So you got good odds. So I need your help. If you want me to do another one of these things, I need you to buy some stuff. And worst case scenario, hopefully you got something you otherwise would have wanted anyway. So when I got the car, I paid $107,500 for this thing. I think it has like an $88,000 sticker. I should have brought the window sticker up here with me. But it has, these were selling at massive premiums. This was a Hockenheim Silver 3,700 mile. I wanted a low mile, I wanted this color, and I wanted carbon ceramics. There weren't any carbon ceramic ones for sale. The only one that was for sale was like 135 grand. And so my idea was to buy this with the steel brakes, and then I do the carbon ceramic swap, which go check out that video if you haven't watched it. But when I got the car, it was like a Lamborghini dealer had the car or something like that. It had the PPF stripe and the PPF sort of on the front. There was a stripe here, but they did the whole hood. It was a real janky install. So I removed the PPF, did full multi-step paint correction. The car currently has no PPF on it. So whoever wins it, if you're gonna love this car, keep it forever. If you're gonna be driving a lot, let's say you're in Michigan or something, you win this, or you're in Alberta, because Canadians can't enter except for Quebec. But if you win it and you're driving it in the winter or driving it in areas where you're following on the highway a lot, you probably want to get some PPF done. But I like it better without. I like to see the paint. I think this color's amazing. There's like a pearl to it. We just drove it the other day, so it's a little bit dirty, but I'm sure it's shining pretty well on camera. But that was the first thing. One of the first things I wanted to do was I knew I would do. I actually did it a little later in the process, but detail the thing, get the thing dialed in. The glass is coated, the exterior is coated, the wheels are coated, the carbon ceramic rotors are coated, all that stuff. It's set up. So one of the things that's been a little tricky on this car for the giveaway is other cars had to do all this stuff. I did a 1M, F10 M5, the Civic was a huge, we swapped the engine. There's not a ton to do to the CS. In fact, a lot of things you do to it will mess it up. And so I wanted to make it OE plus, tweak some of the things that I think could be improved, but keep the essence of the car very similar, but still, do the work. Get the car dialed in. It wasn't a new car. It was owned by somebody who didn't know what they're doing, and so I had to fix a bunch of things in the paint and PPF and stuff like that. But really, the only exterior change I made were the IND black badges, outside of the detailing. Subtle difference, but they basically paint the black edge, the chrome edge. I think it makes it pop significantly more than a normal BMW badge. So I did the front and rear emblems, and then I did these, the jury's still out on these for me, the M Performance. These are OE M Performance canards. I had actually bought BBS RID wheels for this car. They were in silver. I didn't love them. The offsets weren't as good as I want them to be. And I just think the car looks so good with these wheels on it. And so when I put the carbon ceramics on, I was getting too much deflection in the rotor. I'm sorry, not the rotor, the caliper. And so it was scoring the wheel because the BBS doesn't do a proper drop center like the OE wheels have. So that was a huge problem. And I went back to the OE wheels. So I rebalanced, road force balanced, polished and coated these, just hand polished and coated these wheels, removed all the iron and stuff because they had steel brakes on it before. And I think this setup with Future Classic spacers, I want to say it's 12 millimeters in the front, 10 in the rear. I just think the stance on this thing looks fantastic. And so the other thing I did were the black floating center caps, which, in comparison to the BBS center caps and the BBSs, I just think this is the way to go. And I think many of you agree. Black wheels and this Hockenheim silver just look great to me. I think bronze would look good too. And actually, the sticker on this car had bronze wheels, so they must have swapped at some point. But the cool thing about the CS is the carbon roof, the 4x4 weave carbon roof, the not matching but still very nice 2x2 weave of, is it 4x4? Maybe that's two. Is that 2x2 and this is 1x1 weave? I forget what they call it. Yeah, this is 2x2 and that's like a 4x4 weave or like a checkered weave. But the CS comes with all the M Performance carbon fiber stuff with the exception of the M Performance side blades. So the front lip, the rear splitter, the rear trunk spoiler, of course the carbon roof, carbon mirror caps, that's all part of the CS package as well as the interior stuff. So all I had to do was get the wheels dialed, lower the car, change the brakes, change the emblems, detail it, and it's beautiful. So unlike other cars, I had to do a lot more work to get them to look cool. So this thing, when I got it, before I detailed it, I wanted to do a carbon ceramic swap. And so you can see the rotor change, the caliper change. The calipers were red. The steel stock ones are red. They're F80 calipers. They are F80 carbon ceramic calipers painted red, I guess, for the steels. I was thinking about keeping the red, but once I saw how good the gold looked on this car, I decided to go full new, the brake setup. So the way to do this, if you were going to do an upgrade or do a change, you have to change the brake booster, you have to do coding, you have to do brake master cylinder adjustment, pedal adjustment, and obviously the brake swap. It's about $12,000 to do it if you do it yourself. I changed the fluid to Castrol SRF, and I had my friends at PSI do an additional adjustment after Mike and I did this. But these are brand new brakes. The brakes have, a couple hundred miles on them. Whatever many miles it took Chris to drive this thing up here is how many miles we have on the brakes. You don't bed carbon ceramics, but you still break in by the same bedding process to basically transfer some pad material to the rotors to get them heated up, and then they'll last the life of the car, assuming we're not doing a lot of track driving. But you can see, I don't know if you can see it on this one, but I did my own 3M wheel weights and did a rebalancing of it. They don't make the really thin weights in black, otherwise I would have done that transition. But relatively new Pilot Super Sports, and I think the only thing that really could be something I would consider if I was going to keep this car and have it as my full-time car, I would probably do a swap to Cup 2s. I did have Cup 2s on the RIDs, the BBSs, and you could definitely feel a significant grip difference. But I don't think there's much else that you would want to do to this car. This is, I think, one of the best looking cars on the planet, maybe ever built. I always loved the look of the F80. This takes the slightly larger looking F80 and changes the feel of it to a coupe. I just think this looks so much better than the M4 version of this iteration of this generation of BMW stuff. So let's pop the hood, we'll talk about that, and then we'll dig into the suspension. But the CS also comes with a carbon fiber hood, and then I always have a love for, I don't know, probably go a little overboard on this, but I have a love for carbon fiber parts on the engine bay, even though they don't do anything. This is the factory, F80 that they transitioned to this generation of M2 Comp and CS, the F80 strut tower brace. So this is stock, but Venturi carbon intake, Venturi carbon intake cover, Venturi carbon charge pipes, and then I did these couple of goofy, right on the border of ricey, but I think that it was a little too black for me, so I did these really fancy Goodrich black line, Goodrich black line, whatever you call it, caps. But otherwise the engine's stock. This generation, you cannot flash tune. It depends on, I think this was an October 2020 build, and I think at a certain point in 2020, they transitioned to the latest iteration or latest generation of Bosch DMEs, and so this one cannot be bench tuned, and actually we got into a real problem with that. The person who owned this before tried, now we know, I didn't know this at the time, but they tried to probably boot mod it or MHD tune it or something like that. And I actually lost, there was no efficient dynamics, that the fuel gauge area and the upshift light, that was off, and the valves didn't work. The valves wouldn't work on the exhaust. And so PSI had to take the whole engine apart, get to the ECU, figure out what was going on, reflash with base stock software, and kind of clean it up. That was a real problem. So the previous owner did a fast one and tried to modify it, and then traded it in and didn't do the right thing and get everything fixed, which I didn't even know. And I didn't know until I started messing with the exhaust and couldn't function, the valves wouldn't function. But I think the engine bay looks cool. I know people give me a hard time about the blue. Well, I don't know, I think just that subtle little bit matches the blue on your windshield squirter reservoir. I should try to get a little blue badge there, but just a subtle little difference, a little change. You could always pop those off if you didn't like them. The factory caps are underneath those covers, so you could always take them off. These are anodized aluminum. They're like hundreds of dollars, so I don't know if money, what do they say, money can't buy taste, but if you take a photo of this or you stand back and look at this, I think the engine bay looks fantastic. So that's some stuff that, I don't think the Venturi intake really adds much power to these, if any, probably doesn't do much, but that's what we did in the engine bay. We'll talk about the few extra things that I plan to do here in the future. Let's see, let's talk about suspension. So this has Öhlins Road and Track, and this was something I was torn on. The part of the appeal of the CS is it has a different suspension than the comp, and the car stock, the ride height's too high for me, but the stock feel, the balance, the way it enters and exits a corner, the way it felt just driving around town, the way it was damped, it just felt fantastic. And I was really, really, not worried, but really reluctant to change the suspension. I do not like EDC. I do not like the ability to be able to change modes. I don't want that. I just want a good mode. Just give me one and leave it. So the transition over to, or the change to Öhlins, I wanted to make sure it was going to be really good. So I called my friend Barry at 3DM Motorsports and said, you know, can we improve upon the M2CS suspension without messing it up and making it too aggressive or too stiff? He said, absolutely, 100%. And so he makes a custom valve, custom springed, like he has a specific spring for the M2 chassis, the comp chassis. And so we made the change. I did EDC delete. So there's no suspension mode. It's just a regular, you know, just simple mode. Set up compression and rebound. He sets it all up for me. Choose the proper spring rates and all of that. And then I can raise and lower and get the car stanced like this. So this is grown-up spec. This is grown-up spec that you would want if you had this car, I think. No rubbing, but low enough that it looks super aggressive. I just think this setup with this Future Classic spacers and the wheels just looks absolutely fantastic. So in summary, I just think the suspension is great. I did Dynan sway bar. Did I do sway bars on this or just sway bar? I can't remember. I think it was front and rear sway bars I think I did on this. I can't remember. I know I did the front. I think maybe the rear we had to drop the subframe, so I didn't do that. So, but I'm telling you, man, the suspension, and you don't notice, there's no, when we code out the EDC, you have the button on there, the button just doesn't do anything, but there's no errors or anything. It just doesn't show up in the menu, which my friend, a friend from Alpine MSS, he does all the coding for me, and he just dials it in so that you don't have to see any errors or anything like that on the screen. We also coded in Euro MDM, so it has the better traction control mode. So then the exhaust, jury's out for me on the exhaust setup still. So I actually ordered, so I did the active equal length mid pipe, which helps with the distance difference between turbos and helps get rid of some of the tractor sound that you get from the S55 engine. And so active mid pipe, resonated. Maybe it would be better to do non-resonated, I'm not sure. And then I was doing the Remus rear section. We ended up doing Acra. I couldn't get the Remus. Mike's car sounds so good, so we did the Acra. And I'm getting a bunch of drone that I don't like. Not so bad that you can't live with it. I've had cars where it was so bad I couldn't live with the droning. So I got some time. I'm going to talk to Active about it. Maybe you need to go non-resonated. I would think the resonators wouldn't do that much. But it certainly looks good. My distaste for Acura exhaust. But it gets rid of the dirty diaper, right? So this is now tucked up under here, whereas the stock exhaust looks like it's a pair of old sweaty little hanging balls hanging off the back of the thing. It looks terrible. So now you don't see it. It looks pretty clean. It sounds better, more aggressive. It's just a little much. And so I find myself driving with the valves closed on the darn thing. So I'm not sure. I freaking hate valves. I'd rather just eliminate valves, but it's pretty gnarly. So I'm not sure what to do next other than to drive it a little bit and see how I feel about it. We just got it this past week. So then interior wise, really there's not much. We did the tint. So Martin Alligator window tint dialed the tint in for me. We have, there's nothing to do in the interior here. I decided against doing short shifter because I find that the shifting engagement is not terrible. There's, like I said, I swapped these little blue here. People got so mad at me. I just think it looks good. The blue matches the blue here, and rather than the brown looking buttons, and I did a blue engine start instead of red. I don't know. I think it matches the blue here and the blue there, and just a subtle little difference. But apparently people don't like it. I did Dynon pedals, pedal covers. I guess they're not really pedals, but pedal covers. That's the stock, dead pedal. So what I'm going to do, the interior, I'm actually going to do it after I'm done with this video. I'm going to do a interior cleanup of doing leather treatment, Alcantara cleaning and treatment, and then this puppy will be ready to go. But I'm going to hardwire radar detector as well, so I need to do a blend mount and probably unit end. I might try the R8 in here. The other modification that I haven't done yet, I have the Max Schnell wheel studs on here, I think. Actually, the wheels, I didn't have the right size. These are just bolts, Future Classic bolts. I have studs in the front, but I have matching front and rear racing titanium wheel studs I'm going to put on here to help add to the ridiculous expensiveness of this. And I think it's like $1,800 for that set, or $1,300, I think, for the set of studs and lugs that go on that. But I'm pretty proud of this thing. I mean, I didn't do a whole lot, but the things that I have done, although subtle, are pretty, I mean, it's not like, there's just bolt-on stuff. Anybody could do it, but I think what we've put together here is a darn good-looking car. I'm excited to go get some rolling shots when I get home. I have Waba and Chris go do some rollers of it, and we'll get some flybys of the exhaust and do some GoPro driving footage. It'll be sort of the month of M2, but this thing is nice. I think it's certainly a great looking car. I hope that somebody who wins it will enjoy it, and I bet you, would certainly change my life if I won a car like this. Even if I just got it and drove it to the dealership and sold it, even if it was a pathway for me to win this thing to get the car that I wanted, I think it would be life-changing. So this giveaway, although I didn't have to do as much to this car to get it to where it's at, I'm hoping it does well. Hoping you guys buy stuff and help me do another one. The next car I really want to do, if this works out, is a NSX. So even if you're not interested in this, I'd appreciate you buying a bunch of stuff, so that way you'll convince me to go do an NSX this winter. I'd love to do a Gen 2 NSX, not a Gen 1 NSX, for the next giveaway. I think I need to depart and do something different than the BMWs. But yeah, this is a car that I like having. I wanted to experience an M2. I don't think I want one long term, just because of the sort of the digitalness of the S55. But who knows? Maybe you'll see one of these come back into my garage someday permanently. But anyway, thanks for your support. As always, stay tuned for more crazy. Giveaway is now live, and I guess good luck to you. We'll see you on the next one.